What's up, guys? Welcome back to the War Room. And we're back in my bunker here that I've been creating for the last couple of weeks. And I figured I'd start off the occasion by learning a new board game. This one's called Axis Empires, Totaler Krieg, the World War II in Europe, 1937 to 1945 by Decision Games. This game came out a few years ago, and I'm going to learn it. So after looking through the internet, I've YouTube and whatever videos I could find, I found very few educational videos on this game. So there are videos on Totaler Krieg. I think there's a World War I version of it as well. But this one here, it was very intriguing. I got it as a gift for my birthday. And one of the things that I noticed about this game was that it also has a sister game called Dicenso, which is the Pacific War. This one's the European War. And they can be played together as one. But I only have the European one for now. So let's go ahead and set this game up and let's get ready to play. Okay, so really quickly, we're going to go over the rule book here. Now, the rule book is 63 pages long. And, I've got ADD. Actually, I do. I was diagnosed with ADD back in the 90s before it became an ADHD problem. And one of the things I don't do well is sit down and read, especially manual type books for long periods of time. However, I am very interested in the wargaming series. And so because of that, I am very interested in it. And so one of the great things about games like Axis Empires is it does things in scenarios. These scenarios are small, they're sweet, and they get the job done. So I wrote down for the first scenario, which is the Polish invasion by the Germans, all the rules that we're only worried about. So I'm going to be doing this video in parts, basically, for each rule we need to do. There's actually only like 5 segments. You got the initial administration phase, the Blitz marker placement, organizational segment, operational movement phase, combat, and then reserve movement phase. Okay, so we're back, and as you can see, I have the pieces set up. It's in Poland. There are no other pieces at all on the board whatsoever. Okay, the white squares are your Polish units, and the gray are the Germans. And we're going to start with the initial administrative phase. Okay, and there's only a few sections of this phase that we're going to deal with. And the first one is going to be the support segment. And we're only worried about parts that have to do with the Air Force placement. Okay, we do have an Air Force. If we come over here, the Germans start off with an Air Force and a Blitz marker and some units in the force pool. We'll talk about those in a little bit. So the first thing we need to do is support unit placement. So that's fleet. We don't have to worry about that. But we do have an air unit placement. Okay, and basically we get to place that Air Force somewhere on the base. It has to be within 3 hexes of a supplied unit that's either on a road, a port, or a railway. So if we take a look over here, I have several options. Okay, I have to be within 3 spaces. All right, I have several options, and it's looking pretty good that Warsaw, or I should say Lodz, right here, will be such the place, because I can go 1, 2, 3 up to this unit here, or I can go 1, 2, 3 to that unit there. Okay, and what that air unit's going to do is provide a cover to my ground unit. It's going to allow me to increase, or I should say, do a swipe right to my CRT, my combat results table here. So for example, for those of you who don't know what that means, if I have a 1-to-1 ratio of people that I'm going to be fighting, my guys versus his guys, that air unit's going to allow me to scoot over one and get a better dice roll advantage. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. So let me get my stuff. Excuse the shaky camera. All right, let's go ahead and grab our air unit. And we're going to go to Lodz, right there. Perfect. And he's set. And again, he's well within the ranges of supplied units. All right, the next step is going to be the Blitz marker placement. Now, the Blitz marker is a bonus. okay? You don't always get these. According to the rules, you'll get them for certain political events or cards that are played. Yes, this game does come with cards. They're sitting behind that little box lid. But there are cards. But in this scenario, the case white, it's called, you don't get cards. You automatically get a Blitz marker, and that's that. And we get to place that somewhere as well. So let's go ahead and get that. Okay. Excuse me. Now, before I place it, I need to look for a place that's going to benefit my guys the most. It's going to allow my units that are within 2 ranges of it to attack twice. Now, the 2 ranges I found out from BoardGameGeek.com means that after they do their initial movement, so wherever they end up, because the next spot is the movement phase, or I'm sorry, organizational segment's next, but the operational movement phase, after that's done, wherever they end up, as long as they're close to that Blitz marker, they'll be able to attack a second time and get special CRT shifts for all of the armor. That's these guys right here. Okay, those are armor. So I think I'm going to place it. I'll place it right here. Okay, I'll move it just a little bit, so that way we won't have any issues. See if I can't set up my guy right there. Okay, guys, so now that we're in the next segment, it's called the operational movement phase. This is where I'm going to be able to move units to where I want them. So what we have to do is we have to understand what these movements, how they move, okay? The number all the way to the right is their movement allowance, okay? So this armor here has a movement allowance of 4. This guy down here near Czechoslovakia is 2. The enemy over here has a 2. That's called a movement allowance. That's the entirety of the movement I can make. Now, in case white, this particular scenario is very easy. Every single hex type is basically a regular clear hex, okay? So I don't have to worry about counting down special spots here because of, being a swamp or a forest. So we have that pretty much cut and dry for us. We don't have to worry about that. But I do have to worry about one thing. The enemy units. The enemy units portray what's called a zone of control or an enemy zone of control. And what that means is if I move a unit, let's say this Czechoslovakian unit here, he has to stop. And he has to deal with that enemy zone of control, okay? But there is a couple of benefits. Let's say this one, this is a 2-stack right here. So if I move this guy here, all right, he is going to be stuck in this enemy zone of control, but he negates it for this guy. So I can move here, and then I can move over here, and then I'd be stuck in this enemy zone of control. All right, so I have to think tactically when I'm moving these pieces. All right, so let's pull it back here to Breslau. All right, and let's move our pieces to where we want them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow suit and move this army up here to face Krakow, because in this scenario, I need to get 3 cities, and Krakow is one of them. If we take a look here, you can see that little, you probably can't see it, but there's a yellow dot here. That yellow dot is a city. I need to get Krakow, I need to get Posen, and I need to get Warsaw. So let's go ahead. What am I going to do here? I'm going to move my armor with that army there because I want to push him out. I'll push this guy here. All right. Now this unit here already starts off in an enemy zone of control, which means that I can go ahead and move those guys if I want to, and I don't have to worry about the enemy zone of control. However, if I do move to this one, then the enemy zone of control still plays fiddle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the 224 and bring in the 663 as a much stronger unit because I want to keep him engaged but push him out. All right. I'm going to the HQ here has a special ability. I'll talk about that in a second. Let's go 1. He only has 2 unit movements. So let's go ahead and let's go over here. 1, 2. okay, because that's negated, so I don't have to worry about that. And let's do 1, 2. You know, let's add to this guy. In this scenario, I'm only worried about the second number of the Polish. That's their more stronger number. So I'm probably going to keep this guy right here. Okay, now he was there. That was your HQ. And I think I'm going to go ahead and move the HQ as well. He can go 3. And I really need to get into Posen. But here's the deal with these guys. Within 2 spaces, they have a special ability, and that's they can assist units with ranged attacks, basically, air assets. And so they can help the ground units with ground support. And I can only do that 1 time in the game, so I only get 1 shot at that. So I want to make sure I have enough of these guys covered so that if one of them needs help, or if I think I'm going to need to use help for one of these units, I can provide that. And then finally, my last one here, I'm going to move him here to negate this enemy zone control, because that's still in effect over there. And I'm going to come down here for Warsaw, and let's see what happens. All right, so now here we are with our combat phase. Now, because I have a Blitz marker right here, okay, one of the first things I'm going to do in the combat phase is do the Blitz combat segment. Basically, it's a bonus. I get a special attack before the attack. So I'm going to go through the entire combat phase this first round because of the Blitz. And the Blitz marker will only affect people that are within 2 spaces of that Blitz marker. And literally, everyone is within that space, the way this works out. Okay, and I'll show you exactly what benefits it gives me besides an extra attack. So, with that being said, let's start with, let me put you down here, sorry. Let's start with 224 to 012. All right, I'm going to commit the whole thing there. It's only 1 unit. If I had a stack of units here, like this one here, the 123, on top of the 663, I'd have to commit the whole stack to the fight. So since I am planning on attacking everyone, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to use this armor. I'm going to go ahead and attack. So it is 2 to 1. So it's 2 to 1 odds. Okay. So if I come over here and take you, I have 2 to 1 odds. So I'll put my little dice there to remind me. However, there's some benefits. Because he's an armor and this is a Blitzkrieg move, he gets a second bonus, 1 shift over to the right. Now he's a 3 to 1 odds. And because I have an Air Force support, he gets to come over 1 more, up to this 4 to 1 / 5 to 1 odds. So now I can attack with the 5 to 1 odd chart. I rolled a 4. Okay, right there. I rolled a 4. So he has a DR1 and a 1 to 1. What that means is the defender will have to retreat 1 space, but I lose a step and he loses a step. Okay, it's not good for me. So let's put you back over here. Okay, now to retreat, it's very simple. There's a couple of rules to it. All right. Let me just open up the page really quickly. So there are 2 priorities to retreating. So this unit has to go. All right. Number 1, the hex to be retreated into must be further away from the defending hex than any previous hex retreated into, and it cannot contain an enemy zone of control. All right. So he has to move away from the area. He can't stay here. However, there's a problem. If he moves here, he goes into an enemy zone of control. So there's a second priority. If no hex exists that meets priority 1, then the retreat must enter a hex that is farther away from the defending hex than any previous hex retreated into, and it must contain a friendly ground, airdrop, or air unit. Okay, if no hex of that meets priority 1 or 2, the force cannot retreat. Okay, so he can do that. Okay, now this is a disclaimer, guys. I'm brand new to this game. If you are a Axis Empires player and I make any mistakes with these rules, please let me know in the comment section. But please cite your sources and let me know what mistakes I've made so I can correct them later. So I'm going to move this guy. He can move into a friendly territory. He's a hex away from where he retreated to, or from his defending area, and he's within a friendly hex because this is negated, okay? These enemy zones of control are negated, excuse me. But there's a problem. We still have to deal with the issue of him losing a step. So let me grab you. All right, so this 1-1 here that you see, that's attrition. So going through that fight, they're not wiped out. They have attrition issues. All right, so attrition means that he is going to have to lose a step. And since this is a single step unit, there's nothing on, well, there is a 2-step on the back, but it's naturally, excuse me, you can't see that. You see that one little dot in the upper right-hand corner? That's a 1-step, so that goes away. It's destroyed. However, I'm going to grab you again. There's the 1 here. The first one is for me. That's the attacker. The second one up here, that's for him. I still have to lose a step, and that's going to be painful because he's already a 1-step. So I lose an armor. Okay. Sorry for making you dizzy. Okay. So part 2 of the combat. So what you saw there was that enemy unit moved down into a friendly territory. So that presents a problem for me. So what that means is if I continue to go top down, this guy's going to just keep getting stronger. Those stacks are going to get bigger, and I don't want that. That's kind of a cool thing here in Totaler Krieg, that I don't want to keep them pushing down and making themselves stronger, because sometimes they can be pushed down and not take any attrition, and we don't want bigger stacks. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push into the center here, right where the Blitz marker is. That's a 012 Polish unit, if you can see that. I do have my HQ and the army underneath. All right, so that is a 3-5 to 1. So that's a 5 to 1 odd. I'm going to set my dice. You can't see it right now. All right, I have a Blitzkrieg, but I don't have an armor. So I don't get that special ability to shift over to the right, but I do have the Air Force. So I'm going to shift over once to the right. So now I'm going to roll the dice. Okay, I rolled a 1. That was a really good one. Roll, and that's going to be a defender retreat and 2 attrition. So he's going to get in some serious trouble here. So let's remove the Blitz marker for now. So he's going to move, but he can't go anywhere. There's an enemy unit here, so he has to find a friendly unit, but he loses, and my guy does not lose anything. Okay, and as I said before, they have to move and attack as a unit. So they're going to move in. I'm just going to twist them here so I know that they've attacked. All right, and that's part 2 of the attack. Real simple. Now I'm going to continue forward and doing all the combat. I'll come back and I'll explain to you what has happened. Okay, I'm back, guys. So right away, I already had an issue. So these units here went to fight into Posen, and they got they rolled what's called an EX. Right here, and that means exchange and no attrition. So what that means is that both units will have an even exchange of gunfire, but here's how this is going to work. All right, let me go ahead and grab the explanation. It says exchange. All attacking ground units must retreat 1 hex, or one of the attacking ground units must take a step loss. If retreat is possible, the attacker chooses which to do. So I can either retreat and not take a step loss, okay? So I don't lose a guy. Or I can take a step loss and then I don't have to move at all, all right? There's a problem, though. He gets to do the same thing. If he takes a step loss, which he can because he's a step 2, I don't know if you can see the 2 dots there, he'll also stay there as well. Okay, and he could choose to retreat or step loss. That's his choice. If he retreats, he's going to lose. So as the Polish player, since he's like technically the AI, I'm going to make it hard for the Germans and stay. So the first thing I'm going to do, take my step loss because I don't want to go anywhere. Because in this scenario, you only have 1 turn to take over Poland. So this one here, this guy, he's going to flip. Okay. And he's going to stay there. All right, I'm going to change him over just so that we know we've attacked him. All right, and that's it. I'm going to keep going. And the reason I attacked in the middle earlier is so that this guy can't escape into the stacked units. I think I explained that already. All right, so now he's kind of stuck, and he's probably not going to last much longer, because after the Blitzkrieg, I get to do the regular attack segment. Okay, and let me finish the Blitzkrieg movement, and then we'll get back to it. All right, guys, welcome back, and we are still in the Blitzkrieg mode. Some interesting things had occurred. So this army down here was a 3 and I forgot, it was a 3-4-2. It attacked and killed the army here, which was the byway to Krakow, and then got reduced. This unit came into here, pushed this guy out, and decreased him, but they took Krakow. All right. And now we're having an interesting situation up here. We're trying to take Warsaw, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use my HQ's support just to make sure I can get in there and kick this guy out of Warsaw. I don't want to make this fight last any longer than I have to. So his ability as a HQ allows 1 shift over on that combat results table, in addition to everything else. Now, he's not a panzer unit, so he doesn't get a CRT shift there, but he does get one from the Air Force, so he'll get 2. And so let's go ahead and do that really quickly. I'm going to go ahead and figure it out, and I'll let you guys know. Okay, so the combat was effective. However, there were losses. He lost a step. I lost a step, but I took over Warsaw. So now the entire Blitz segment is done, and now I have to deal with the actual combat segment. So now this unit here has to face the wrath of all the leftover armies that I want to bring into the fight. He's probably not going to last longer, and I'm probably going to take Posen here in the next round. Okay, so now we're in the regular combat phase, just so you guys can kind of see what's going on here. So I could show you. This is the attack sequence. All right, attacker chooses defending, hex, blah, blah, blah. Blitz is done beforehand, and then it's a 4-1 segment in the rulebook. The Blitz is gone now. That's off the board. We did the Blitz. All the benefits from a Blitz are gone. We're only worried about Posen. They're the only one posing a threat. Okay, I'm going to stop. And now I'm going to do the regular attack sequence. So it's going to be a 6-1. Remember, the first number is your attack. The second number is your defense, for those of you who don't know. And then the 1 here, the second one for the Polish unit here, that's its defense. So it's going to be a 6-1. I'm going to set the dice right here. The air support is still on the board. So I'm going to go ahead and shift it 1 more over. So now I'm at my max. I'm at 9-1 odds. I roll a 4. Okay. And he's going to have to move 2 spaces and take 2 hits. He's dead. But basically, to show you what's going to happen here, if a unit can't retreat, and in this case he can't, he has to take a step loss. Excuse me, that was some stuff shifting in my garage. He has to take a step loss for each hex he can't retreat into. So either case, he's more than dead. So since he can't move and he has to take 2 step loss, he would have to take 4 step losses. So this unit is dead. Okay, we're going to take him over to the force pool over here, and this unit comes in here. Okay, so now this, let me set you guys down. This scenario for Case White is done. I've taken over Krakow, Posen, and Warsaw. And in the Case White scenario, if I want to grab that really quickly, that's all you need. Okay, I'm going to grab you guys really quickly here. So in Axis Empires, you get what's called a scenario book. And this one here is Case White. This is the first scenario in the book, and it literally tells you how to set it up, what rules you should read before you play, and what rules you need to pay attention to. And that's what I did over here. I wrote a nice little sheet of paper with all of the elements of that Case White scenario. So I'm not looking back and forth on the scenario book and the rule book. Okay, so that was basically the game for us. Really short, really simple, and this game's pretty cool. So far good. I'm sure with the next scenario, Barbarossa, it's going to be a little harder. It's going to add more rules to the game, and then we'll have to add to what we've learned. So So far, so good. Let me know if you liked the video, if you've learned anything from it. If you have any criticisms, please, add it. Add your sources. Tell me where I messed up at and where in the rules I need to look over. But all in all, I think we covered all of the basics.